Hey everyone, welcome back to Retro Modding News, the weekly series where I no-life Twitter and Discord looking for retro console modding news so that you don't have to. First up this week, we have this really awesome looking MiSTer case from Todd Gill, or RetroFrog. I really like this color filament that he uses. It matches these 8-bit Do controllers really well. It has all these ports in the back here. I'm not sure if he's using some kind of a custom PCB to move the things from the MiSTer to the back here. Looks like that back panel is kind of modular. I don't know if he's going to offer different type of modules that you can put in there, but the case is still in progress. Hopefully we hear more details about it soon. I think it looks cool. I think it looks like an old computer or something. Very fitting of playing retro games on your MiSTer. Next, we've got this update from Make Megahertz about the XboxHD Plus firmware 2.1. Now, I mentioned in my XboxHD Plus video that the firmware wasn't quite there yet, specifically the one that came with my XboxHD Plus. Hopefully with this new firmware, it irons out some of the bugs that I found, and I'd like to do a quick video when this does get released, just kind of going over the features that I wasn't able to test in that video. I'm super excited for this firmware. Everybody who already has an Xbox HD Plus is going to want to switch over to this firmware when it comes out. Next, we have this tweet from OG Wojak, who has an Analogue Pocket where the screen seems to be coming unstuck from their pocket. I think that there was another case that I saw with the same exact thing happen where the screen kind of came unglued and came out. Now, I'm not saying I don't trust OG Wojak here, but take this with a grain of salt. This is just one anecdote. I'm not sure how many Analogue Pockets are out there, but we've only heard of a couple compared to how many are probably out there. I don't really hear a lot of positive things about Analogue's customer service, which is really unfortunate because I think they make pretty cool looking products. And as far as I can tell, they function pretty well too. Anyways, hopefully we can hear more about this particular case if Analogue decides to do some kind of a recall for these pockets that have come unglued. And for everyone who pre-ordered waiting for the next batch, hopefully they can address this issue before those pockets get out the door. Next, we have this pretty cool video from Mr. Multisystem. Mr. Multisystem is this really cool looking MiSTer case that has a PCB that kind of moves the ports to the back. This is from their YouTube channel and they have only 368 subscribers. If you're interested in hearing more information about the Multisystem, maybe you should subscribe to them on YouTube here. This video is showcasing a new case that they've got. The original batch of cases, I believe, were only two pieces, a bottom and a top. This case seems to be a lot more modular. Now you can watch this video yourself, but long story short, the reasoning is this is easier for them to 3D print. There's less wasted support material, and it's just easier for them to manufacture these in bulk. The downside is people who already have a batch 1 MiSTer Multisystem, you don't get the benefits of this new case. The upside is anyone who's getting the next batch of MiSTer Multisystems, I think they'll be getting this case. The improvements are that it can come apart in multiple sections if you want to work inside your multisystem. You don't really have to take the entire case apart. You could just take half of the shell apart. They even showed off this interesting stacking piece that actually adds some expansion to the bottom of the MiSTer Multisystem for different types of cabling, extra USB headers, different things like that. So that's actually a cool improvement as well. I'm not sure if this new version of the MiSTer Multisystem is going to be available for people who already have batch 1, but I'd be surprised if it wouldn't be. It's good to hear more from the Multisystem team. Hopefully they have some more videos here on their YouTube channel. Next, we have this BlueRetro update from DarthCloud. BlueRetro, if you didn't know, is an open source Bluetooth controller framework for a bunch of different types of consoles. This time, DarthCloud is showing off support for the Virtual Boy. I know these consoleized Virtual Boys are pretty popular. It'd be really cool actually to use BlueRetro inside one of these consoleizers. That way you can use any kind of Bluetooth controller you want with your Virtual Boy consoleizer. Someday I'll get around to making one of these Virtual Boy consoleizers. It's just a lot of money to dedicate to this thing, and I know there aren't that many games for it, but anyways, it's cool to see that DarthCloud is working on updates to BlueRetro now to work with the Virtual Boy. Next, we have this tweet from Martin Refseth. That's kind of hard to say. Anyways, he's showing off this USB power delivery project for the GameCube. It's got this pretty innocent looking PCB in the images here, but then we have a USB Type-C port in the back. This final image is showing a GameCube powered by USB. This is more interesting than it seems. Honestly, I think we're gonna get to a point where maybe the consoles are gonna be really easy to buy, or people have them hanging around their house, but maybe they lose the AC adapters for the consoles. And it may be cheaper to get a mod like this to power the console than it would be to find a working good AC adapter for the GameCube. Before we get too far, I want to talk about Greg from LaserBear talking about there actually are different types of power boards for these GameCubes. So this mod here may not work with every single type of GameCube. That's just a little bit of a warning now, but we'll have to see if there are multiple different varieties of this power delivery board, or if this thing is even gonna get released at all. I thought this project was pretty cool, and I'd be interested to see if there could be other mods like this for other consoles. Next, we have some gbaHD news from ManCloud. It seems like he got a bunch of the flex cables for the gbaHD in. He's going through and testing some of them, and it looks like the batch that he got for the normal gbaHD, not the Game Boy Advance SP version. It looks like the flex cables that he got were damaged, or the traces are not intact all the way through, so he had to manually wire it up here. That's a pretty cool picture. I like how he shows the bodge wires there. It looks like he did get some for the gbaHD SP version in as well. So hopefully we'll see some more information about these flex cables coming for the gbaHD. Hopefully we'll hear more about pricing and availability, or if they're just going to be open source, how you actually put this one together soon. Now in these videos, I try to stay as impartial as I possibly can, but as soon as I saw this tweet from Bob Wolf about how to pronounce 8BitDo or 8BitDo, I had to say something. So it looks like he actually emailed 8BitDo how you actually pronounce their name, and the person who responded to them said it's 8BitDo like Scooby-Doo. So if you're reading this tweet here, it seems like a slam dunk. The mystery is solved and it's pronounced 8BitDo. However, Zaxor here has some pretty damning evidence that it's actually supposed to be pronounced 8BitDo. I believe they're pretty fluent in reading Chinese, and they took a look at the Chinese writing for Nintendo and the Chinese writing for 8BitDo, and it looks like the last character for both names is the same thing. So if you read Nintendo here and then you read 8BitDo here, it looks like they have the same last character. This is one of those stupid GIF versus GIF things. I think I've dedicated myself now to calling it 8BitDo still, but feel free to fight in the comments about which one is the real pronunciation. Next, Method or Madness reached out to me on Twitter, and he showed me a small project that he's been working on. Well, maybe not small, but a project that he's been working on, which is basically a collection of GameCube mods and instructions for how to do them. Now, he originally linked me to his GitHub page here, but somebody in my Discord mentioned that the file structure here is sort of like a GitHub Pages style. GitHub Pages, if you didn't know, is like a self-hosted free website that GitHub provides, but it looks like it's kind of powered by a GitHub repository. So if we dig into this Pages folder here, we could see, you know, hardware, software, cosmetic. If you go into hardware, not all of these are filled out, by the way, but like I know the Xeno install one is. So for each mod, it has a cool like about the mod and step-by-step instructions for how to actually install the mod. Earlier today though, they linked to this, I think this must be the GitHub Pages, but just hosted at a different URL, which is pretty much the same thing. You can navigate through all the pages. We can navigate down. Let's go to the Xeno mod again. And it looks like it's pulling the same information from GitHub over to here. Now to some of you, this probably isn't new, GitHub Pages, but it just got me thinking about maybe what's the best way that we can kind of catalog the best mods for particular consoles. And to me now, after having seen this, I really like this a lot. GitHub allows you to be collaborative with other people. You can let other people make changes to this, and then you can make it's called a pull request. They can submit their change to you, and you can say, yes, I want this change added to the repo, or no, I don't. The other thing too is you can see the changes over time, kind of like Wikipedia. If you wanted to go back and see who made an edit to a particular page, you can see the actual user that made the edit and what exactly text or images they changed. As you can see here, actually Method or Madness has someone else helping him here. It just made me think about having a personal GitHub or GitHub Pages site. It might be kind of a cool way for me to catalog my own research and have links to my videos, just to keep track of this stuff in a written form. That way other people can just browse it, you know, console by console. And if other people wanted to contribute to that, I think that would be a really cool idea. I know for me personally, I can't possibly be an expert in every console that I talk about, but I think that's okay. Talking to other people about these different consoles, having them share information with you, that's really how it's done nowadays. So let me know about that too. Would you be interested in me setting up a retro console modding sort of GitHub where people can come and share tutorials and information about it? Let me know in the comments. Speaking of consoles that I don't know anything about, Barbecue, is that the user? Has this project called the Leco, which is a open source ColecoVision compatible clone console. But it looks like there are these plans here where you can create your own ColecoVision. Seems pretty interesting, and I'm all about these kind of projects where it's like literally just, here's how you build this console from scratch, order these PCBs, order this bill of materials, and put the console together yourself. If you know more about this Leco project or the ColecoVision in general, please let me know on Twitter or here, and maybe someday I can put one of these together myself. Last but not least are some sort of interesting tweets from AsimFPG, and you might not think that these are interesting at first, but it's more of a question that I pose to you. AsimFPG, if you don't know, is the person working on the PS1 MiSTer core. So they posted 2 tweets. They posted today what would happen if the PlayStation 1 had a real data cache. I don't know what that means, but there are some comparisons here to a real PS1 on the top and then the PS1 MiSTer core with that data cache enabled. And it looks like there's a faster frame rate on the MiSTer core. All down here, certain games actually can benefit from using a data cache that the MiSTer core can provide. The other tweet I wanted to bring up too, it looks like Dave's Game Room YouTube or YT on the MiSTer FPGA Discord created this comparison side by side between a real PS1 on the left and the PS1 MiSTer core running Gran Turismo. First of all, what a great game to showcase this. Pretty topical because the new one just came out, but this is actually a really awesome looking PS1 game. It's incredible to see the power of the MiSTer with these 3D graphics. I would not have said maybe a year ago or a year and a half ago that the MiSTer would be capable of anything like this. If you watch the video here, you do eventually see that the MiSTer core kind of gets desynced. It's actually quicker. I don't know if that means less accurate or just better at actually rendering the video than the real PS1. But that just made me think, you know, the idea behind these MiSTer cores could be to add additional features or additional functionality to that core. I know there's things like for the, I think the NES, where you can have additional sprites displayed on the screen using the NES MiSTer core. Would it be good to have a toggle where you can just have better performance on the PS1 MiSTer core than a real PS1? Obviously, it's not accurate if it's out of sync at all with the original console, but maybe that's not the point anymore. And sure, we're getting into software emulation versus FPGA emulation. Actually, at this point, I'd be willing to see the differences between a top-of-the-line Raspberry Pi versus the MiSTer core here. I don't even know, can a Raspberry Pi run PS1? Anyways, let me know your thoughts in the comments below. That's it for this week. If you want to suggest a news story to me, you can follow me on Twitter or join the Discord. And get subscribed so you don't miss any of my weekly retro modding news videos. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.